Hello and welcome to the Osmosis Day Spa Sanctuary Gardens. My name is Michael Alliger. I'm the tree pruner here in the gardens, and today we're going to look at a Japanese maple that we actually started in the spring. Well, we started the spring pruning, and we sort of promised that we'd do some summer work on it. I'm often asked when's the best time to prune Japanese maple, and I'd say that the major line of distinction is whether or not the tree needs to be contained. If the tree can grow to full size, it's a lot easier to manage. If the tree needs to be contained, as this one does, and as many do that are in Japanese style gardens, then there's more work and it's more labor intensive. So for that kind of garden, for that kind of tree, I generally prune 3 times a year. That's winter, spring, and summer. The caution about summer pruning is that the inner maple leaves will burn, and because the covering on the inner branches is not really bark yet, it's still just a thin skin. The actual branches and wood can burn in the sun. They call sun scald. So if the tree's in full sun, it needs to you have to be cautious in the summer when pruning. Otherwise, you can open up holes where sun can power through and cause damage. So that's the caution for summer pruning. Winter is a time to finesse the winter silhouette, we call it, the fine twiggy branches. And then spring is the time to begin to deal with the first flush of growth. And with a maple, the first flush of growth comes out fine leaves and many of them, so kind of bushy and full. Like these are the small leaves. The darker green leaves here are from spring and trailing off, because the first flush comes out and then the tree sort of rests for a little bit while the new leaves photosynthesize and generate more energy over the early part of summer, like June and July. Then later in July and August, the tree puts on, or may put on, summer growth. Some of that summer growth is naturally occurring, and some of it can be spurred on by spring pruning that we've done. Did I say that right? I'm not sure. Anyway, so what I want to show you is the difference between the two kinds of growth. The leaves on the spring growth are smaller and more aesthetically shaped. Look at the comparison of the summer leaves. They're more rank, they're misshapen, they're oddly shapen. Each one is unlike the other to a certain extent. They're kind of torn and shaggy, shreddy like. And the internodes, which is the space between the growth points, the leaves, these internodes in here are really long. And when you're trying to contain a tree, these long internodes are a problem because they extend the tree out too far, even when you cut it back. So this summer growth, and what I've surmised over the years of pruning these trees, is that the summer growth is what the tree uses to get bigger, to extend its reach, so that it can then the following spring put on the finer growth. So right now it looks rank and unkempt, but if we let it go, all of this top growth would fill in the next spring with fine growth, and the tree would get bigger that way. So one of the main ways to contain the tree is to remove this summer growth in a timely fashion, which would be pretty much now. It's still extending, and we may get more after this, but this is a good opportunity for not only reasons of grooming, but of also for containment. So for this, it's not as important how this is removed as that it gets removed. With the spring growth, we're trying to do more. We're trying to create layers and depth, but here we're just trying to get it off. And any problems that occur from the cuts that we make now can be dealt with in the winter pruning when the leaves are off and all's revealed. So for right now, I'm going to see where this begins. We always try to cut back to a set of leaves. Let's see, I'll give you another example. This is a set of leaves because there's two buds to a node, so we always cut back like that, which is why these long nodes are such a problem, because we don't make cuts like this and leave that. We can only cut back like that. So we still have this long extension here with nothing in it, if we were to leave it on. And we can cut deeper in and take off a little bit of the spring as well, if that's part of the shaping. Or we can just go right to the beginning of the summer growth and get it off. That's more of a grooming cut. It's less about development. When I say grooming, it just means for the appearance of the tree, basically. Now, I brought along with me a handy long reach pruner, which in lieu of bringing out my tripod ladder, we can just use this to get these taller ones. I'm still trying to cut at the node, so I'm not leaving any stubs up there. And this is a small tree. As you can see, it's less than 7 feet tall. So some of your maples may be big, and this, even though it's kind of a quickie here, it could be a fairly significant job to go through a whole tree, a larger one. But it's highly recommended. And again, the cuts don't need to be perfect as long as you're going to be going back and doing some detail work in the winter. Few burned leaves. The long reach extends as well. The summer growth is a different color as well. I'm sure you can see, hopefully. It's more yellow. It doesn't have as much chlorophyll in it. It's really much more geared to extend rather than sustain the tree. You know, trees are all about space in their minds, getting as much as they can. What's nice about this kind of long-reach pruner is that it has a blade that's very similar and almost as precise as on my hand pruner. So it's more desirable than a pole pruner with a rope on it and so forth. Those don't have as fine a cutting edge. So you can't make these close cuts. Running out of room here. I have to cut this fern. And for a small tree like this, and if you're an eager pruner as I am, you may find you still want to do more detail work in this season. And that's perfectly fine, as long as you are careful not to open the tree up to sun scald or leaf burn, as we said before. Okay, so that's summer growth, and that's a tree with the summer growth removed, and so it's more appealing now, I believe, and we won't have as much rampant growth in the winter to deal with as far as cutting back. So thanks for your attention. I hope this was helpful, and we'll see you next time. Perhaps in winter we'll look at this tree again. Thank you very much.